Hey guys, Budcat7 here. Okay, it is Friday, December 8th, 2023, and I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. And please do hit the like and please do subscribe because we talk about some very interesting things on this channel. Okay, so in this video I'd like to discuss the ancient diet and intuitive eating because it interests me because of the large humanoids that were unearthed in the past that look something like this. Okay, this happens to be a representation of the Adena people in the Ohio Valley in the U.S. in North America here. Okay, well, how do you get that big and be a big, strong, tall, heavy boned and brachiocephalic guy there, okay, by eating lettuce and tomatoes? And the reason why I'm saying that is because so many times these skeletal remains were found, they were dug up with perfect teeth. Now, perfect teeth is a little weird because even with our dental hygiene practices today, we don't have perfect teeth. In most people's cases, people don't have perfect teeth. I don't have any, so my teeth got all eaten up with diarrhea, but this is the kind of things that apparently didn't go on with these people in the past. So how did they avoid this bad dental hygiene? Okay, and what it means in a lot of different ways, or what their motivations are as a people, as a society, as what they can accomplish, etc., all relative to these things. And I read a master's thesis from New York State, SUNY, I believe it was, about how this is just an understudied aspect of the peoples of the ancient past, their fish farming and agriculture, okay, and how it was just their main and major food source. It wasn't the terrestrial animals, see, because what do you need a water pig for and a dental floss for? Do you need it for candy? Okay, candy is like a recent occurrence in dental hygiene issues for people, because even in Victorian times, yes, they had access to candy, but these poor people of the past did not have the access to candy like we think, because it cost money, and if people were very poor back then, it's a special occasion if you got a piece of candy. Not like we eat bags of candy today. I know, because I sell bags of candy to people. When I was a kid, you just got like a candy bar or something like that. Now you're eating like sacks of candy. It's just unbelievable. The type of diabetes we have rampant in this society and all sorts of problems. Sugar intake is like a disease, it's also like an addiction, So how do these ancient people, because every time they dug them up, when they see these perfect teeth, they're like, how do these people have perfect teeth? It's impossible. We don't have perfect teeth. What were they eating? They must have been vegetarians. Many of the experts that looked at the skeletal remains repeatedly said, these people must have been vegetarians. Look at their perfect teeth. It's impossible. Okay, if they're eating all this meat and everything, and they're not eating sacks of candy and stuff like that, well, how are they keeping their perfect teeth? Some of them are a little worn, but I believe the wear that was on some of these large skulls that they found, everything, some activity that they were doing, something that they were doing there, some activity that their teeth, your teeth are just like another hand, when you're doing some kind of thing, or some kind of craft or something like that, it's just another thing useful for you to use. But they do things with their teeth that wear them, but they had perfect teeth. Well, how is this possible? And how could they be so big and strong and everything? And it seemed like a lot of people from the past, look at the Greek 300, right? All the Greek statues and the Romans, the Olympics, all this kind of stuff. Come on now, and did ancient people know about, diet health in the past? Well, just some evidence of that, has been researched. And not only that is, the different types of foods that are used for health reasons. Food health, consumption of food and general overall health is huge, absolutely huge, for a lot of different reasons. So anyway, let me read to you a couple of things here before I get too long-winded on this stuff. But I have some short articles I want to read to you about what we understand about it now and what some people believe in their practices now. And it's not so far-fetched, the things that I say about it and where my ideas come from, without even, before reading any of these articles or anything. I've done plenty of research on nutrition. I was a bodybuilder at one time. If you would have seen me, it would have been like, hey, what's that guy doing? That I'm not doing, because I was a pretty big boy. And it took a lot of work to get there, and proper eating practices as well, and nutrition, and knowledge of nutrition. So in any case, let me read to you some stuff, okay? And then you can decide for yourself, okay, if human beings have the ability to intuit what they need to eat, when they need to eat it, and why that would be, okay, and how much we're out of touch of it, and why today we have such poor health, especially here in the Americas, and a lot with obesity, etc., etc. Do you think that ancient people didn't have any rules to eating in the past? They had abundance of food and everything. Were there rules? There certainly were. So let's hear a little bit about what I'm talking about here from some other sources here, and see what we can make of it here. I was talking about one of these Bell Beaker people dug up, I believe, in Europe there somewhere. I read the account of it. When they dug him up, they found he's wearing a salmon bone necklace, okay? Not a wolf's fang necklace or a bear claw necklace or whatever, a salmon bone necklace, okay? So it's just interesting to me, how far back does the process of smoking salmon go back? Okay, here's a little long history of smoked fish here, okay? And I don't know, I'm a big fan of smoked salmon. I love smoked salmon, and that, I believe Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, my father was a big shot in Macy's. So he met him at Herald Square in their food department there, because he had fish farms and salmon fish farms in Scotland, and he had his own brand of smoked salmon that he was hawking there at Macy's at Herald Square. My father was put there temporarily in between stores. He's a big shot there. He was basically the main manager for all of Macy's, the main retail manager, and he was a prick. That's why they loved him. Anyway, here's a history of smoking fish that goes back thousands and thousands of years. They don't know. Passed down essentially into the modern era, medieval England, but they don't know where it comes from, okay? I've read about this. They don't know where it comes from, just like domestic animals. So they don't know where any of this stuff comes from. Somewhere in the ancient past, we figured this out, how to preserve meat longer, and smoked fish was, smoking fish was just part of smoking meat to preserve it for a long time. It goes back thousands of years, okay? So that Bell Beaker fellow with the salmon bone necklace, probably smoking a lot of salmon and stuff, just like they do on the East Coast here in the Americas here. So, anyway, let me read this article from Smithsonian. They're all short articles, so let me get through them. You listen to them, and not too many comments on my part, but listen to what's being said in all of this stuff that I read you here. Okay. The history of health food, part 1, antiquity. We tend to think of health food as a modern invention, but humans have made the connection between food and well-being at least since the beginning of written history. Although it's always been as much a matter of educated guesswork as solid science. Ancient Greeks believed that good health was dependent on maintaining the balance of the body's four quote-unquote humors: black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood, and that modifications in diet could restore balance if levels got out of whack. Hippocrates, Plutarch, and other thinkers wrote books on the relationship between food and health, including Galen's On the Power of Foods, a title that sounds like it could have been written last year. Belief in garlic's health properties was surprisingly widespread in the ancient world. According to legend, the Egyptian pharaohs fed it to their slaves to increase their strength and productivity. Imagine the pungent perspiration of those pyramid builders. And remnants of garlic were found in the tomb of King Tutankhamun. An article in the Journal of Nutrition describes the health benefits attributed to garlic in other ancient civilizations too. In China, it was part of the daily diet and prescribed for respiratory and digestive ailments. Evidence also suggests it may have been used to treat depression, headaches, and male impotency. The herb was an important part of the ancient Greek military diet because it was believed to provide strength for battle, and it was fed to early Olympians before they competed. As the article author suggests, it may have been one of the earliest quote-unquote performance-enhancing agents used by athletes. According to food historian Francine Sagan, who researched ancient texts for her cookbook, The Philosopher's Kitchen, some ancient Greek athletes followed what resembled on an early version of the Atkins diet. One text she studied, called the Dipnosophist, a 15-volume description of an epic feast that took place around AD 200, tells of an Olympic runner who won several races while subsisting solely on meat. As Sagan told National Geographic, this started a meat-only craze. She added that some Greek Olympians abstained from eating bread right before a competition, in contrast to the common modern-day practice of carb loading. Although the Atkins diet was an unintentional retread of the ancient Greek fad, the last few decades have seen an increased interest in ancient theories of healthy eating, especially traditional Chinese and Ayurvedic diets. I even found a book called The Kemetic Diet based on ancient Egyptian practices. The name derives from Kemet, the ancient word from the land we know now call Egypt. The author Muada Abhaya Ashby writes that good health, as the ancient Egyptians saw it, relies not only on food for the body, but food for the soul and mind, a theory, he points out, that was a precursor to later ideas of holistic medicine. Physical disease, he continues, is caused by digestion impurities, which must be cleansed through the specific alkaline vegetarian diet outlined in the book. Although most ancient Egyptians ate meat, a mainstay of the plan is drinking kamut wheatgrass juice, which comes from an ancient grain, and which Ashby claims acts as an alkaline flush, quote-unquote, in the body. Ashby notes that the ancient comedians were the healthiest people of their time. Of course, they still only had an average life expectancy of 40, so I don't know how ringing of an endorsement that is. Okay, so anyway, this is just like the first installment there, but apparently there's some awareness of between health and diet and how you feel when you eat something, okay? Because anybody who's been sort of starved for a little bit, who eats something knows that when you consume that, whatever it is, when you haven't eaten in a while and you're sort of low in blood sugar, etc., and you eat something, it sort of warms you up and fills your whole body. Okay, that's one of the experiences that people have from eating. But and obviously we know from taking pills, they react in a certain period of time. Well, there's something going on in you that makes that all happen. You need absorption of all this stuff. So foods are going to make you feel in a similar way. See? But the thing is knowing when to eat things and when not to eat things. It's already see, like they refrain from eating bread before Olympic matches, etc., etc. So there's some evidence in the ancient past these people sort of knew what they needed to eat at certain times. Sort of intuitive eating that's going on. And do people have intuitive eating is the real question. So there's some evidence of this, but we're going to go a little bit deeper here and you'll see why. Okay, so let's read this little article. And these are pretty recent articles, 2020, this one. Thriving Lives Council. Okay, what is your stomach telling you? Intuitive eating explained. Hate dieting? Then this may be the best blog post you have ever read. If you're one of those people that has always had trouble maintaining a healthy weight, you are most likely also one of those people who has tried every diet known to man, and yet none of those has worked. Maybe none of these diets have worked because they are man-made diets instead of nature-made diet. Maybe, just maybe, we are trying too hard when the answer to a healthy weight is to listen, all capitals, to our body. Okay, and this is the kind of videos that I've done in the past on my other channel about how we can't hear what our body is telling us. And it's probably several reasons for that. I mean, besides the dulled senses and, lack the sort of capabilities that our animal friends have. Okay, and their abilities are just amazing, beyond comprehension, supernatural, as compared to ours. But is that really true? Is it just a matter of practice and we just haven't been able to practice it because our senses are dulled by all this artificial crap in our atmosphere and that we're using on ourselves and everything, all kinds of perfumes and, deodorants and all kind of stuff like that. And, we're not in touch with that. See? But, any case, let's go on. Simply put, intuitive eating is the practice of eating mindfully and without guilt or restrictions. There is no counting of calories or restricting certain foods. It is simply a common sense approach to eating and living well. What? No calorie counting and eating whatever you want? How can that possibly help a person lose and or maintain a healthy weight? Well, because you're not listening to your mind, but your body. Your mind can lie to you, but your body always tells you the truth. Interesting that they say that. We'll get to it in the next article I'm going to read to you. You'll see why there's truth to that. This person may not even know about what the next article I'm going to read is about. Okay? Here are some the basic principles of intuitive eating. It is not a diet. Diets simply don't work because they are not sustainable. So the very first principle of intuitive eating is to completely throw away the idea of dieting. Eat when you're hungry. I think that's a good idea. That's one of our problems, okay? It's like we don't eat when we're hungry. We have these fixed times when you have to eat at a certain time, all kind of stuff. Except when you're hungry. No, don't do that because I'm working, I'm doing this, doing that. Whatever it is, it's wrong. But it's like, when to go to bed. How about when you're tired? Yeah, but you can't do that all the time, right? Because you're at work or whatever it is. But it's like, yeah. So it's like, let's do these unhealthy things because we have to. That's a good idea. What do we have to do? Do we have to maintain good health or do these other things? Make a widget or somebody else happy, whatever it is. So I don't know. Doesn't sound too good to me. Not like really living. It's like the animals. Yeah, they're so stupid and everything. You think that they have a problem with that? I don't think so. But let's read more. Eat when you're hungry. Diets don't work because they typically leave the person feeling deprived and hungry. This, in turn, usually triggers overeating. Intuitive eating relies on listening to your body's hunger cues. There will be a bit of trial and error at the beginning, as this is a new way of eating for most people. But once you begin to recognize your body's hunger signals, it becomes easier and easier to trust your instincts and rebuild your relationship with food. Respect your fullness. The first step to eating intuitively is to eat only when you are hungry. This means not eating when you are sad, stressed, happy, emotional eating. I had that problem myself. I was like almost 200 pounds and getting big, and that was bad, because eating's easy. It's cheap. It makes you feel good. Just, grab something you love to eat. It's a lot cheaper than drugs and alcohol and all kind of stuff. So that's why a lot of people do it. I know that's why I did it. The second step is to respect your stomach when it tells you it's full. Eating slowly and chewing your food well will help you to stop eating when those fullness signals begin. Be mindful. Many of us eat as if it's a chore. We get hungry, we warm up food, and then we scarf it down as if we are in a race. Remember, we want to completely rebuild our relationship with food. We want to respect the food we put into our body. Taste it. Feel the texture in your mouth. Feel grateful for the farmers and people who help get that food onto your plate. These are only some of the principles of intuitive eating, but they give you an idea of why this way of eating works so well. I encourage you to do a bit more research into this lifestyle and then try it for yourself. This may very well be the thing that helps you shed those unwanted pants and keep them off for good. Well, that's very possible, but it's very interesting to me that this article talks about this particular subject, about this intuitive eating. Well, how far does that intuition go? Does it get specific? Is that possible that it might get specific? Well, there's good evidence that it does, okay? And this is where I'm coming from my sort of synthesized way of talking about the ancient people's diets and our diet now and what we should be eating and why we're so unhealthy, and all these answers sort of lie in the past. That these ancient peoples, these giant humanoid people with their perfect teeth, must have had a really good diet, okay? And what were they eating that they had perfect teeth and built so well, their bones being big boned and everything? They weren't just simply eating lettuce and tomatoes. So, you got to think about that. Well, anyway, let's get back to this. So, now we understand a little about this intuitive eating. If I say it could be specific, that you could actually know what it is that you need to eat, whether it be fruit, vegetable, meat, or otherwise, okay? That's important to your diet too, because how many times have you stood in front of your pantry or refrigerator and looked in it? It was full of stuff, okay? And somehow there was nothing there for you to eat. So how is that possible? You're looking at a whole pantry full of stuff, but there's nothing there that you want to eat, okay? And the fickleness of pregnant ladies and all that kind of stuff. So is there, more to it than we can understand? Well, as time marches on and scientists know more about our physiology, it seems more and more likely and more possible. So you have to think about that and think about your own health, about what you're eating, what you're lacking. Are you practicing this mindfulness eating, intuitive eating, understanding what you need to eat? And you'll hear a lot of people, crave this and crave that. Well, if it's good things, healthy things, well, that's very good. But the problem is that we're often craving all these other things as part of the problem. Okay? you're eating these very unhealthy things and then complaining about your unhealthiness, and it has a lot to do with what you're eating, not some bug that you're getting. And that too, many of the things that we eat could ward off a lot of these things if we practice it right. All the animals don't get all these problems, cancers and heart disease, all this kind of stuff. There very few animals get any of these things. Okay, why do we get so many of these things? Well, so much of it has to do with diet. And when you look at these people in the past, and as far as the life expectancy of people in the past, don't pay any attention to that. It's based on their statistics. Okay, so they're taking from a smaller population. What are these people dying from? If they're dying in battle, young or whatever, that all goes into the average statistic too. Are they accounting for that or anything? There's a lot of things they can play around with statistics to make things. They died young in the past. Just listen to us. We're nutritionists. We're from the pharmaceutical field. We'll tell you what's good for you. Just keep on paying up. We'll keep you healthy. Sure you will, buddy. Long as that Mercedes is still in the driveway. Okay, so let's follow this up with the next thing here. Okay. The brain-gut connection. Okay, this is from Johns Hopkins Medical University. The brain-gut connection. If you ever gone with your gut, quote unquote, to make a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach, quote unquote, when nervous, you're likely getting signals from an unexpected source. Your second brain. Second brain. Hidden in the walls of the digestive system, this, quote, brain in your gut, unquote, is revolutionizing medicine's understanding of the links between digestion, mood, health, and even the way you think. Scientists call this little brain the enteric nervous system, ENS. And it's not so little. The ENS is two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal tract from esophagus to rectum. What does your gut's brain control? Unlike the big brain in your skull, the ENS can't balance your checkbook or compose a love note. Its main role is controlling digestion, from swallowing to the release of enzymes that break down the food to control the blood flow that helps with nutrient absorption to elimination, explains Jay Pasrica, MD, director of the Johns Hopkins Center for Neurogastroenterology, whose research on the enteric nervous system has garnered international attention. The enteric nervous system doesn't seem capable of thought as we know it. Are you sure of that, Doc? You don't understand a real lot about it, but you sure? But it communicates back and forth with our big brain with profound results. The ENS may trigger big emotional shifts experienced by people coping with irritable bowel syndrome and functional bowel problems such as constipation, diarrhea, bloating, pain, and stomach upset. Many of these, intestinal maladies plague people like unbelievable. I see reams of packages, miniature packages of Pepto-Bismol go through my store over here. People just eating all kinds of roadkill or whatever the heck they're eating there. Okay. But our studies and others show that it may also be the other way around. Let me read this. For decades, researchers and doctors thought that anxiety and depression contributed to these problems. But our studies and others show that it may also be the other way around. Very interesting. Pasrica says, researchers are finding evidence that irritation in the gastrointestinal system may send signals to the central nervous system that trigger mood changes. These new findings may explain why a higher than normal percentage of people with IBS and functional bowel problems develop depression and anxiety. Pasrica says that's important because up to 30 to 40% of the population has functional bowel problems at some point. New gut understanding equals new treatment opportunities. This new understanding of the ENS-CNS connection helps explain the effectiveness of IBS and bowel disorder treatments such as antidepressants and mind-body therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy and medical hypnotherapy. Our two brains talk to each other, so therapies that help one may help the other. Pasricha says, in a way, gastroenterologists, doctors who specialize in digestive conditions, are like counselors looking for ways to soothe the second brain. Gastroenterologists may prescribe certain antidepressants for IBS, for example, not because they think the problem is all in the patient's head, but because these medications calm symptoms in some cases by acting on nerve cells in the gut. Pasricha explains psychological interventions like CBT may also help to improve communications, quote unquote, between the big brain and the brain in our gut, he says. Still more to learn about mind-gut links, see? There's still more to learn. Kind of think, kind of do equations. Oh, no. You know, whatever. I'm just saying, okay? I'm trying to make an argument for where I'm coming from about how we could be better at our diet and certain things that have been eliminated from it that I think is making us sick because they're not included in our diet now. But we can talk about that, especially fish, one of the healthiest things that you can eat. And, you know, we'll just pollute everything so we can't eat any more fish. You know, pharmaceutical companies love that. We'll fix everything with artificial chemicals and stuff. That'll fix everything. Still, Pasricha says research suggests that the digestive system activity may affect cognition, thinking skills, and memory too. This is in an area that needs more research, something we hope to do here at Johns Hopkins, he says. Another area of interest, discovering how signals from the digestive system affect metabolism, raising or reducing risk for health conditions like type 2 diabetes. This involves interactions between nerve signals, gut hormones, and microbiota, the bacteria that live in the digestive system, Pasricha says. See, there's another organism involved, a symbiote. Okay, so that's the end of that article. But just to demonstrate that there's this other brain in your gut, in your whole digestive system that's going on there. Okay, it's sort of going to the point where we know what we are supposed to eat, but we're blinded by it. The veil's over it. We ate from the tree of, you know, good and eat in the Garden of Eden. You know, we ate from the tree of knowledge. So now we're dumb to, you know, our own health practices. So, any case, let's just talk about something that they claim is psychological, okay? This pica disorder, okay? Yeah, I'll give later Wikipedia. I gave so many times to Wikipedia. I don't know them anything. You know, with a baloney online encyclopedia. Pica is the eating or craving of things that are not food. It is classified as an eating disorder, but can also be the result of an existing mental disorder. See, you know, if you crave certain things or whatever it is, you know, non-food items or whatever it is, you're crazy. Okay, so maybe it's not that these people are crazy, but they have the type of system, okay, that's craving the things that they need, but they're unable to express it fully because of the confoundedness that we experience in with the level of choices we have, food choices we have, okay? Don't you think that the food choices, the myriad of food choices that we have are going to contribute to bad health practices? Okay, where we're eating foods that we don't need to eat at this time of year, etc., etc. Well, the animals don't seem to have those problems. We're going to go into that. We're going to talk about that, okay, a little bit, all right, about what scientists have found out about animals. But, you know, doesn't apply to us, right? We're We're more superior to them. Right, sure we are. You know, I'm trying to figure where. How do we got a brain, a bow and arrow. Wow. Well, okay. Whatever. Okay, so the term was drawn directly from the medieval Latin word for a magpie, a bird subject to much folklore regarding its opportunistic feeding behavior. So it's a pejorative term. But yeah, you got Pika there, jerk. You know, so I'm not going to read all of it for you. They talk about pregnant women. Pika is most commonly seen in pregnant women, small children, and people who may have developmental disabilities such as autism. Yeah, those autistic people. Just people who don't think the way that we do. They think abstractly or whatever, you know, like an idiot savant, another pejorative term for somebody who's just incredible. Somebody had one of those in their family. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, has one of those in their family. At like 4 years old, he say, "Can you make me a picture of an orchestra?" And he drew a picture of an orchestra with all different animals playing all the instruments at like 40, without no, formal art education at all. So some people have these abilities. It's amazing. So again, with mysteries of the brain. Okay, so to talk about eating soils near the road, all this kind of stuff. Okay, so you're crazy if you're crazy if you do that, right? Okay, and out of all of these things here today, sharp objects, purified starch as from corn, burnt matches, dust, feces, vomit, raw potatoes, earth, soil, sand, clay, chalk, glass, wood, stones, metal, mucus, ice, lead. Okay. Well, one of these things here, the geophagia, is what I'm particularly interested in, why people do this. Okay, but I say, okay, that this is not some sort of mental disorder. These people are more in tune with their body's communications, okay, with their gut brain communications, okay, but they're not being able to be expressed properly, okay, because of our bad health practices, okay, and what we could be eating when the types of foods, the types of complex carbohydrates and proteins that we need, and we're not doing it. Okay, and many things are missing from our diet that were pretty much in the recent past that people were eating these sort of things, but now no, and of course they expired prematurely in the past with their bad statistics, and people being cremated by the thousands. They don't even know. They don't know anything. And people being slaughtered, totally decomposed corpses and everything. They don't know what they died of. The ages are all estimates, all this kind of stuff. What they claim is, in some cases, just pure speculation. Okay, so it's, they go through treatments for it. A lot of it is, psychological based treatments, and, talk about the history of it and all kind of stuff. So, just to read a little bit of this. In the southern United States, geophagia was a common practice among the slave population. Geophagia is a form of pica in which the person consumes earthly substances such as clay, and is particularly prevalent to augment a mineral-deficient diet. Really? Particularly prevalent to augment a mineral-deficient diet. Okay, so is that crazy? Noteworthy is the fact that kaolin was consumed by West Africans enslaved in southeastern United States, particularly the Georgia Belt, due to the anti-diarrheal qualities in the treatment of dysentery and other abdominal ailments. The practice of consuming kaolin rocks was thereafter studied scientifically. The results, which led to the subsequent pharmaceutical commercialization commercialization of kaolinite, the clay mineral contained in kaolin. The kaolinite became the active ingredient in anti-diarrheal drugs such as kaopectate, although it was replaced by adipolgite in the 1980s and by bismuth subsilicate starting in 2004. See, they're making us sicker. Take away that original stuff. That's not good enough. It's just bad, not effective, or whatever it is. See, taking it away here. So, look, this is not completely, whacked out mental disturbance and all kind of stuff like that. People are eating these things for a reason. They're going to call it peak or whatever. Just, you're a magpie, you little shithead, or whatever it is. No, wrong. Okay? It's still like pica in animals here. Oh, that's crazy. They're trying to, make it to some condition that, well, domestic animals may have some condition because they're not natural. We made them. Now we're responsible for them. And I notice how everybody avoids responsibility for, yeah, just put them all to death. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah, we made them. I'm going to put them to death too. Oh my God. Wrong. Okay, so although several hypotheses have been proposed by experts to explain pica in animals, insufficient evidence exists to prove or disprove any of them. Hey, right. Don't know. Okay, nice way of saying, real fancy way of saying, very expert way of saying, we don't know. Okay, so let's look at some of these other interesting articles here about animals and what they do. Here's the salt mining elephants of Mount Elgon, okay, who go there and go in the cave, and with their tusks they break off these salts. They consume tons of salt. Mount Elgon is believed to be the oldest extinct volcano in East Africa. The elephants prefer to stay at the lower slopes where there are a number of caves and salt is plenty. These caves are quite voluminous, with up to 100 feet and 50 meters long, 60 meters wide, and some 10 meters high. There's evidence that the caves have been artificially expanded by thousands of years of mining, not by humans, but by pachyderms. So they break the pieces off the wall. Young bull elephant at the Aberdare National Park in Kenya was observed to consume 14 to 20 kilograms of salty soil in 45 minutes. Salty soil. Okay. So, they're consuming soil. Something is telling them to consume the soil. What tells them to do it? How do they know to do it? How do their bodies tell them to go and do that or whatever, okay? Why don't our bodies tell us to go and do something and consume something or whatever? Aren't we like an animal sort of too? How come we're not in touch with our bodies like they are? Elephants are awfully smart, though. They're super smart. And these elephants are doing these things, okay? And other animals, okay? Eating dirt, okay? Eating dirt and other things. Okay, so what's telling these animals they have to eat dirt and all kind of stuff, okay? Geophagy, okay? While they're doing it, okay? From Discover Magazine here, okay? They lack something in their diet, okay? They have a bunch of theories. Detoxify plants, okay? All sorts of theories about why they do it, but they're doing it, and they know to do it, okay? Paraseed soils containing minerals particularly good at binding plant toxins, especially positively charged alkaloids such as strychnine and quinine and tannic acids, which gives acorns and many other plant parts their bitter taste. Active minerals include kaolinite, kaolinite, and smectite. Okay, see? Right, so let's just look at this article right here. Okay. If human health requires a balanced diet, how do animals survive on such narrow diets? Okay. Animals have evolved to survive on their specific diets by consuming the organs of their prey, which contain vital nutrients. Humans have evolved to survive on a limited diet by consuming a variety of foods which provide a balance of nutrients. However, humans have a longer lifespan than animals and want to lead an active, happy life, so consuming a balanced diet is necessary. Okay, yes, consuming a balanced diet is necessary, but it just told you consuming the organs of their prey which contain vital nutrients. Okay? Let me read on here. We've all been taught to consume a healthy diet ever since we were kids. I vividly remember a balanced diet chart pinned on a display board in my classroom in grade 5. It listed the essential foods that one should regularly consume as part of their balanced diet in order to stay healthy. Animals, on the other hand, especially those who live in the wild, live on very narrow diets. In other words, their diet consists of very specific foods. As such, they don't get to eat varied foods like we do. Is that a good thing? Wait. Which could potentially provide them vital nutrients and minerals. Still, they seem to be in good shape, at least for as long as they are alive. How does that work? Okay, well, that's a good question. We got to eat this variety of foods to maintain good health, but these animals, just by eating the vital organs of other animals, seem to the power of these animals and abilities of these animals far surpass us by such magnitude and multiples. It's unbelievable. Okay? We're like nothing compared to them. Okay, our abilities are so weak and wimpy. It's just, but why is that? Okay, we just read to you about our second brain and how it affects our mood and everything. Well, it affects a lot of other things too, our sensory organs. Have you ever thought about why humans need such a varied diet with so many different foods, whereas animals can get by with such narrow diets? Before we get to that answer, let's start by understanding what a balanced diet really is. Let's see what their idea of a balanced diet is. A balanced diet, as the name clearly signifies, is one that provides the proper balance of nutrients and minerals that the human body needs to function at its best. Having said that, a balanced diet therefore contains 6 vital nutrient groups, namely carbohydrates, proteins, lipids or fats, vitamins, minerals, and water, all of which are required in appropriate quantities to maintain good health. We all know that. A deficiency in any of the aforementioned nutrients can lead to various ailments, dehydration, starvation, and subsequent death. There is also an absolute requirement of certain molecules known as the essential nutrients because the body cannot manufacture these nutrients on its own and therefore depends on external sources for their supply. If you don't consume a balanced diet, you risk the lack of an adequate supply of any of these nutrients, which could potentially lead to diseases and other problems. Do animals eat a balanced diet? You might think that while animals consume very narrow diets, they don't get to consume as nutritionally rich foods as we humans have ready access to. If you believe that, you should know that you're not correct. At least not entirely. First, very few animals have extreme narrow diets, so you might think that a deer, for instance, being an herbivore, only eats grass and plants, but you may be surprised to know that it can and does eat small birds and the organs of certain other animals, including their fellow deer, when they're really famished. Okay? second, carnivorous animals do eat the internal organs of their prey, which are often rich in nutrients that are impossible to find in their muscle tissue. What do we eat? Muscle tissue, where certain nutrients that are impossible to find in their muscle tissue. Okay? Or you think you're going to get that through all your vitamin supplements made in a factory somewhere, mixed together in some soup? Some artificially made nutrients there or whatever it is. Okay? I believe to supplements to some extent, but are they natural supplements or not? Chemically made supplements, okay? You see, and I keep on repeating this again and again. What is lacking from our diet in the past 20, 30 to 40 years? Well, if you notice in your supermarket and you're old enough to remember, like me, okay, you could go in your local supermarket and you could get any of the organs of the animal that were edible right there, packaged in plastic, right for you to look at. The brain, the heart, the kidney, the liver, it was just right there for you to see. The tripe, right there. If you wanted to purchase that, and many people did. Okay, this whole idea is, well, they didn't want the animal to go to waste, so they... Wrong. Okay, simple observation. We're just as smart as we've always been for 200,000 years. Okay? I'm going to read it again. Second, carnivorous animals do eat the internal organs of their prey, which are often rich in certain nutrients that are impossible to find in the muscle tissue, or meat, as we call it. All right? The meat that we're eating is the least nutritional part of the animal. It doesn't contain the essential nutrients that we need. Why are we so unhealthy? Are you for real? Okay, it's trying to tell you right here. No, we're not animals. We don't have these now. We're going to eat a billion zillion things. They get totally confused about what we need to eat. Okay, because we have just too many choices. How many sprays do we need today, hon? Oh, well, what do we got? Windex and this one and that one. And how many do you need? Okay, too many choices. Okay? Humans, on the other hand, generally prefer eating only the meat, the muscle tissue of the animals, which is not nearly as rich in nutrients as their inner organs. As a result, humans lose out on a sufficient amount of nutrients by restricting themselves to just eating meat. Note, eating just the meat is a fairly recent trend in Western cultures. There are many nations where people still eat the internal organs of animals. Okay, for a reason, not because they're going to waste or anything like that, because that's where the nutrition is, and we know that long before this article was written, thousands and thousands of years back to when people looked like this, okay, and lifted heavy stone. Okay, what were they eating that their teeth were so perfect? A lot of fish. All right, and the internal organs of animals. Okay. Humans can also survive on a limited diet. Yes, it's true, not just animals, but humans as well, that can survive on eating very simple, specific diets for the entirety of their lives. Believe it or not, if you eat nothing but potatoes every day, you won't just drop dead the next day, the next week, the next month, or even the next couple of years. It's interesting to note that we humans need an astonishingly small variety in our diet to survive. An individual can survive for many years by following a very narrow, specific diet. As a species, humans can do just fine if they eat a very unhealthy diet. Consuming a balanced diet is hardly a requirement to survive. However, before you go around cutting out healthy stuff, veggies, fruits, etc., remember that I am using the word survive here. Yes, you can survive for years by just eating French fries, but if you really do that, you will accumulate a bunch of deficiencies in your body. And with all those deficiencies, you obviously won't feel that good. You will undoubtedly debilitate your immune system and will therefore be more likely to contract diseases. In other words, the quality of your life won't be that great if you insist on surviving exclusively on burgers and pizzas. Okay? It's true that wild animals don't eat as balanced a diet as we humans do, but do they live for as long as we do? The average lifespan of a wild beast is nowhere near the average lifespan of humans. Most animals survive on eating whatever they get their hands on, reproduce a few times, and then drop dead. All of this happens within the time frame of 10 to 15 years in most cases. That is a reasonable survival strategy for beasts of the wild. However, most humans want to live much longer and lead an active, happy life until they're old and ready to depart. Because of that, consuming a balanced diet becomes a necessity for humans. Okay, that's the end of the article. And my comment about that last little part is the reason why animals expire prematurely is because, and don't live as long as we do, is because they have certain abilities that we don't have. Like access to all their power instantly. No stretching, no getting warmed up or whatever. They already did that before they got to where they need to do whatever they got to do, okay? If they need their power, they call, and instantly they're going, wait a second, if I pick this up, I might get a hernia, I might hurt myself with my hands, I need a pair of gloves, maybe, what's going on here? Animals don't think that, okay? When they're hunting animals, they use all of their power. The closest thing we have to it is wrestling, okay? That's the one sport where you have to use all your power for the whole entire time. All of it. Not rest a little bit here and take a break here or whatever it is. There's breaks in between wrestling, but in the periods there, when you engage with your opponent, you're using all of your power, all of it. Okay? And animals use all of their power, and they have access to it instantly if they need it. Instantly. And pound for pound, strength wise, animals, pound for pound, down to the little ant, okay, much greater power than us, pound for pound. A 200-pound chimpanzee, 200 pounds, okay, rip your face off. Okay, how much power do you think that's going to take to rip your face off? A lot of power. Lot of power. A chimpanzee, a junior one, grabbed my arm at the Long Island Game Farm here when I was about, 14, 15 years old. Okay, grabbed my arm. I thought he was going to pull it out of my socket. I looked at his bicep and it looked like Hercules' bicep. Okay, he got that by just swinging around. That guy had access to all his power. I could feel it in his arm as he was pulling my arm off. Okay? Animals have access to all their power. They don't have the veil. Don't think about it. They're going to get the thing under the boulder, whatever it takes, all of their power. They can't do it. They go up and around it. They'll move on or whatever they're going to do. Okay? They don't think about it a lot. They just say, I have all my power now, and I'm going to do this thing, and they do it. Because what animals do on a physical scale, just unbelievable. Okay? So, think about it, okay? I'm reading you all this stuff, and I said it many times, okay? We lack in our diets the eating of all these organs that we were doing just in the recent past, okay? I've been to some old graveyards when they said the life expectancy was 45 or whatever it was, okay? There's a couple of I went to a graveyard in rural Connecticut, up in the mountains there. Old graveyard from the 1800s, okay, late 1800s, like 1850 and on, okay. There were a couple of people there that may have been like 45, 50 years old, okay, but most of the people there were like 80 and 90 years old, okay. There were children there that were certainly dead from diseases, etc., that we can prevent today, okay. But did people live to a ripe old age? They sure did. Okay, their averages are all screwed up, and they want to make it seem worse. Okay, because they have the elixir of life for you. There are chemicals and pharmaceuticals that they can provide to you. Okay, so in any case, guys, how do animals have this? Well, these articles describe how, especially this one here, okay, describes that the animals are able to tell when they lack deficiency. Their bodies tell them, their brain, stomachs tell them when they have to consume these things, what they have to consume in their diets. Okay? So, and it may be a variety of things that not necessarily have any nutritional value to them. This is where the vegan, anti-vegan people go astray. They all, on either side, they're out of their minds. You know, they're going to kill us with their bad health practices, either one of them, okay? It's the balanced diet and everything, okay? The question is were these people eating like this in the past? Of course they were. They were much more in touch with their intuitive eating than we were. And, you know, the problem comes in is when humans discover something they like to eat, they want more and more and more of it, okay? So it's obvious from, like, these people in the past who had obvious good eating practices. They could have consumed a lot of this or a lot of that, things that they might have liked to eat, but they didn't. Okay, they controlled their eating somehow and ate the things that were healthiest for them, you see. So, in any case, guys, we're all capable of this intuitive eating, and I think you should think about it, okay? Why are we not getting a proper nutrition? Well, we're not eating the proper things. We're not able to listen to our bodies when we have to eat a certain thing, a certain substance, okay? And I'm calling these Pika people crazy, but they're not crazy, okay? They're more in touch with that, but they can't do it because they haven't practiced it. Just like everything in life, the combination of what your body's capable of and what you need to practice in life are a symbiotic thing, right? So it goes together, okay? This is the truth. This is the gnosis of it, all right? Think about it, okay? We're capable of understanding what we need to eat, and if we were able to hear what our bodies, we wouldn't look in the pantry closet and say, hey, there's nothing for me to eat here. What I need to eat is something that I don't have here right now. But what is it? Okay, well, if these animals are able to know what it is that they have to eat, we certainly have that capability too. And it's a chemical process. It's not just simply, hey, DNA or whatever it is. Their bodies are telling them what they lack. Okay, like these parrots here that they did a study on, and the elephants here. Their bodies tell them they need these things, and they're able to go and consume it and compensate for their deficiencies, unlike us. All right? But we're capable of it, is what they're not telling us. But, you know, to leave it to them would be insanity, because they'll poison us with all their artificial shit. Okay? Just practice intuitive eating. Okay? Be mindful and your health will improve. Okay? Like when I was a bodybuilder and I was mindful about my eating. Okay? And I became a very big boy. Alright. Anyway, guys, I hope that was of some use to you, because as I've said many times, the muscle meat that we eat from animals is not sufficient to sustain us in a healthy manner. It's all the offal, all the internal organs that we need to consume, and we're not consuming them. So where are you getting them to make up that for nutrition with these artificial vitamins and stuff like that? Well, think again about what you need to eat, what we need to eat. All right. So anyway, and what do people eat in the past to maintain such good health? Fish being a food source, which provided many of these things that you would need to eat all this other stuff, okay? And that the ancient peoples didn't eat a lot of the animals because they knew it was bad for their health. See? It's not that they didn't know that. They knew it. They knew all of these things and how to be in touch with their bodies as well. Okay, guys, anyway, hope you like that. Please do hit the like button if you did. Please do subscribe. And I'll be doing another video real soon. Alright, guys, anyway, Bugcat7 signing out. Peace.